Stop! Stop! Survival. Sleep. Sleep.
Here's a mind-bending truth. Most blockbuster sci-fi franchises today are standing on the shoulders of 1970s visionaries. Think modern movies are groundbreaking? The 70s served up galactic rebellions, body horror nightmares, dystopian warnings, and cosmic philosophy without a single digital pixel? But how many of these revolutionary game changers do you actually know beyond the obvious classics? Get ready for paranoia, existential dread, and enough wild imagination to rewire your brain. Are you sure you're ready to see where sci-fi truly evolved? Careful, some of these might just shatter everything you thought you knew about the genre. Star Wars Episode 4: A New Hope, 1977.
Excuse me, sir, but that R2 unit is in prime condition, a real bargain.
The phrase alone redefined cinema forever. And if you don't know why, buckle up, because A New Hope is where space opera stopped being pulp and became mythology. Forget cheesy sci-fi serials. This film asked a question that launched 1,000 franchises. What if good versus evil played out across an entire galaxy? The story. A farm boy discovers he's destined to save the universe from a tyrannical empire, armed with ancient mysticism and a ragtag rebellion. Director George Lucas dialed up the adventure with kinetic editing and groundbreaking effects, making every space battle feel viscerally real. The lightsaber duels, John Williams' soaring score, and those practical creature effects created a lived-in universe that felt both futuristic and timeless, but it's Alec Guinness's wise Obi-Wan that sells the mythology. You believe the Force is real. The film's impact, seismic. It became the template for modern blockbusters, proving that sci-fi could be mainstream magic. Its hero's journey structure still echoes through every superhero movie. The merchandising revolution it sparked changed Hollywood forever. Star Wars didn't just entertain, it created a new religion of cinema, proving that the most powerful force in the universe might just be our need for hope. Alien, 1979.
Well, let's talk about killing it. We know it's using the air shafts. Will you listen to me, Parker?
The tagline alone is pure nightmare fuel. And if that doesn't chill your spine, Alien is where sci-fi horror stopped playing games and started hunting souls. Forget bug-eyed monsters. This film asked a question still terrifying today. What if survival meant confronting the perfect organism designed to kill you? The story. A commercial crew encounters a parasitic alien that turns their ship into a floating tomb of terror. Director Ridley Scott cranked up the claustrophobia with shadowy corridors and H.R. Geiger's biomechanical nightmare designs. The chestburster scene remains cinema's most shocking birth, while Sigourney Weaver's Ripley redefined what a final girl could be. But it's the alien itself, sleek, violent, unstoppable, that haunts your dreams. The film's impact, revolutionary. It proved horror and sci-fi were perfect bedfellows, spawning countless imitators but never an equal. Its slow burn tension and workplace horror themes feel even more relevant in our corporate-dominated world. Alien isn't just a monster movie, it's an existential nightmare about humanity's place in an indifferent, hostile universe. Invasion of the Body Snatchers, 1978.
We drift through the universe, from planet to planet, pushed on by the solar winds.
Here's the horror. You look into your loved one's eyes and realize the person you knew has vanished. Welcome to Philip Kaufman's masterful remake that took paranoia and cranked it to 11. Forget flying saucers. This film asked the ultimate question. What if the greatest threat came from losing your very self? The story. Pod people replace humans in San Francisco, turning individuality into extinction through perfect conformity. Kaufman amped up the urban paranoia with documentary-style realism and that iconic final scream. Donald Sutherland's slow descent into suspicion feels achingly real, while the pods themselves become metaphors for whatever threatens human authenticity. The film's genius lies in its ambiguity. Is this about communism, capitalism, or just the fear of becoming nobody? The film's impact, profound. It elevated 50s B-movie material into art house horror, proving remakes could surpass originals. Its themes of dehumanization hit harder than ever in our social media age. Body Snatchers endures because it nails that primal terror. What if tomorrow you wake up and you're no longer you? Soylent Green, 1973.
This is the police. Supply of Soylent Green has been exhausted.
Charlton Heston's Revelation became cinema's most famous food-based plot twist. And if that spoiler doesn't faze you, this dystopian nightmare still serves up environmental horror with a side of cannibalistic dread. Forget distant futures. This film asked a question feeling more urgent each year. What happens when overpopulation meets ecological collapse? The story. In 2022's Dying Earth, Detective Thorne investigates a murder that uncovers society's most horrific secret. Director Richard Fleischer painted a sweating, overcrowded hellscape where the rich eat real food while masses consume mysterious wafers. Heston's grizzled detective work anchors the chaos, while Edward G. Robinson's final performance, literally, he died during production, provides heartbreaking humanity. The reveal hits like a sledgehammer to the conscience. The film's impact, prophetic. Its environmental warnings feel less like science fiction and more like news reports. Climate change cinema owes everything to this green nightmare. Soylent Green proves the most terrifying sci-fi scenarios are the ones that could be tomorrow's headlines. Close Encounters of the Third Kind, 1977.
Navy Reserve 064199.
Lieutenant, welcome home.
Roy Neary's obsession with mysterious shapes became cinema's most beautiful breakdown. And if you think alien contact means invasion, Spielberg's masterpiece is where first contact became a spiritual awakening. Forget hostile visitors. This film asked a question still searching the skies. What if aliens came not to conquer, but to commune? The story. Ordinary people receive mysterious visions leading to humanity's first official alien encounter. Spielberg orchestrated wonder with John Williams' five-note musical conversation and Douglas Trumbull's majestic light shows. Richard Dreyfuss's everyman obsession feels authentically unhinged, while the Devil's Tower finale remains cinema's most transcendent alien encounter. That moment when the mothership descends, pure cinematic rapture. The film's impact, transformative. It proved aliens could be benevolent, mysterious, and beautiful. Every hopeful SETI project and UFO documentary owes its optimism to this cosmic symphony. Close Encounters reminds us that the universe might be vast and strange, but not necessarily hostile. Sometimes it's just calling us home. Silent Running, 1972.
I've taught you everything that I know about taking care of the forest here.
Here's environmental heartbreak in space. The last forests of Earth float in geodesic domes, tended by one man losing his mind among the stars. Silent Running is where eco-consciousness met cosmic loneliness and created pure cinematic poetry. Forget action-packed space adventures. This film asked a question more urgent today: what's worth preserving when humanity gives up on nature? The story. Freeman Lowell murders his crewmates to save Earth's final forests, becoming a spacebound gardener with only robots for company. Director Douglas Trumbull turned environmental activism into intimate character study. Bruce Dern's unhinged performance sells every moment of his character's descent into protective madness, while Huey, Dewey, and Louie, the adorable maintenance robots, provide both companionship and technical marvel. Joan Baez's folk songs transform space into a spiritual wasteland. The film's impact, foundational. It proved sci-fi could tackle environmentalism with genuine emotion rather than preachy platitudes. Every lonely space movie and environmental thriller draws from this well of cosmic solitude. Silent Running reminds us that in a universe of infinite space, the most precious thing might be a single flower. Westworld, 1973.
Pick up that snake for a total post at once, and check all the snake central mechanisms tonight during the repair period.
The malfunctioning robot's loop became sci-fi's most prophetic glitch. And if you think AI rebellion is a modern fear, Michael Crichton's Westworld wrote the original code for artificial intelligence horror. Forget simple robot uprisings. This film asked a question still debugging our nightmares: what happens when our entertainment decides to entertain itself? The story. A futuristic theme park where guests live out Wild West fantasies turns deadly when the android hosts begin hunting their human visitors. Crichton cranked up the tension with methodical pacing and that iconic gunslinger's relentless pursuit. Yul Brynner's emotionless killing machine redefined screen villainy. Part Terminator, part unstoppable force of mechanical nature. The film's genius lies in making vacation horror feel inevitable. The film's impact, revolutionary. It created the template for every AI gone wrong story, from Terminator to Ex Machina. Its themes of artificial consciousness and human exploitation feel more relevant than ever in our algorithm-driven world. Westworld proves that our greatest fears about technology aren't about what it can't do, but what it might choose to do. The Man Who Fell to Earth, 1976.
Where I come from, there's a terrible drought. We saw pictures of your planet on television.
David Bowie is an alien trying to save his dying planet. If that sentence doesn't immediately grab you, Nicholas Roeg's hypnotic mindbender is where identity crisis met cosmic tragedy and birthed pure cinematic art. Forget typical alien visitor stories. This film asked existential questions that still float unanswered. What does it mean to be human when you're fundamentally not? The story. An alien assumes human form to gather water for his drought-stricken homeworld, but becomes corrupted by Earth's vices and human nature. Roeg fragmented narrative in time with his signature editing style, creating a disorienting experience that mirrors its protagonist's alienation. Bowie's otherworldly performance feels less like acting and more like documentary footage of an actual extraterrestrial struggling with humanity. The The film's meditation on addiction, capitalism, and isolation cuts deep. The film's impact, profound. It elevated sci-fi to art house levels, proving the genre could tackle complex themes of identity and belonging. Every alienated antihero and fish-out-of-water story draws from this well of cosmic loneliness. The Man Who Fell to Earth reminds us that sometimes the most alien thing about aliens is how human they become. Phase 4, 1974.
They're individual cells, tiny, functioning parts of the whole.
Saul Bass's directorial debut turns insect intelligence into pure nightmare fuel that crawls under your skin and stays there. Forget giant monster movies. This film asked a genuinely terrifying question. What if nature's smallest creatures became its smartest? The story. After a cosmic event, desert ants develop superintelligence and begin systematically eliminating human presence from their territory. Bass, famous for his movie title sequences, brought his graphic design genius to create an alien landscape in Earth's backyard. The macro photography of actual ants becomes deeply unsettling when presented as strategic warfare. Nigel Davenport and Michael Murphy's scientists feel authentically outmatched by an enemy that thinks in ways humans can't comprehend. The film's impact. Unique. It proved that sci-fi horror didn't need space or the future, just a shift in perspective. Its ecological themes and hive mind intelligence concepts influenced everything from environmental thrillers to AI narratives. Phase 4 reminds us that intelligence isn't uniquely human, and that's the most terrifying thought of all. The Andromeda Strain, 1971.
In a vacuum? Bombarded by electrons? It shouldn't even be alive.
A satellite returns from space carrying death itself. Robert Wise's clinical thriller turned microscopic terror into edge-of-your-seat suspense that makes every breath feel dangerous. Forget Visible Monsters. This film asked a question that feels prophetically current. What if the deadliest threat was invisible and airborne? The story. Scientists race against time to understand and contain an extraterrestrial microorganism that kills almost instantly. Wise stripped the horror down to its essential elements: sterile laboratories, scientific procedure, and the creeping realization that human knowledge might not be enough. The wildfire facility becomes both sanctuary and potential tomb, while the systematic investigation process builds tension through pure procedure. The film's commitment to scientific accuracy makes every moment feel genuinely possible. The film's impact, foundational. It created the template for every pandemic thriller that followed, from Outbreak to Contagion. Its themes of scientific responsibility and global biological threats feel more relevant than ever. The Andromeda Strain proves that in an interconnected world, the smallest threats can become the largest catastrophes. The Omega Man, 1971.
Microbiological letters, January 1975, remember?
Charlton Heston alone against a world of plague-mutated zealots. The second adaptation of Richard Matheson's I Am Legend turned post-apocalyptic survival into a meditation on faith, science, and what it means to be the last normal human. Forget zombie movies. This film asked philosophical questions that still resonate. What defines humanity when you might be its last representative? The story. Robert Neville survives a biological war, immune to the plague that transformed most humans into light-sensitive, technology-hating mutants called the Family. Director Boris Sagal used real Los Angeles locations to create an eerily empty world where civilization's remnants mock their former purpose. Heston's performance balances action hero bravado with genuine psychological isolation, while Anthony Zerbe's Matthias provides complex antagonism, part religious zealot, part evolutionary step. The film's impact. Significant. It influenced every last man on Earth story, while adding layers of racial and religious commentary often overlooked. Its themes of scientific salvation versus spiritual transformation feel especially relevant in our current cultural climate. The Omega Man reminds us that survival isn't just about living, it's about remaining human in an inhuman world. Mad Max, 1979.
Well, damn them. We're gonna give them back their heroes.
Welcome to the Wasteland. George Miller's low-budget Apocalypse didn't just launch a franchise, it created an entire aesthetic for the end of the world that's still influencing everything from fashion to video games. Forget distant futures. This film asked a question feeling more urgent each year. What happens when civilization's thin veneer completely peels away? The story. In a near future where law and order are collapsing, police officer Max Rockatansky witnesses society's violent transformation into tribal warfare. Miller crafted visceral car-based action with practical effects that make every crash feel genuinely dangerous. Mel Gibson's restrained performance grounds the escalating chaos, while the film's Australian setting provides a unique backdrop for automotive apocalypse. The Pursuit special becomes as much a character as any human. The film's impact, massive. It proved that sci-fi action could be made on minimal budgets with maximum impact. Every post-apocalyptic road warrior, from Fallout to Fury Road, drives on roads this film built. Mad Max reminds us that the line between civilization and chaos might be thinner than we think, and sometimes all it takes is running out of gas. Beneath the Planet of the Apes, 1970.
Get your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty ape!
The Planet of the Apes sequel that nobody talks about, but maybe should. While not matching its predecessor's impact, this direct continuation pushed the series into stranger, darker territory that's worth rediscovering. Following the original's shocking ending, this film dared to ask, what if things could get even worse? The story. Another astronaut crashes on the ape planet and discovers both Charlton Heston's Taylor and an underground human civilization worshipping an atomic bomb. Director Ted Post amplified the original social commentary with even more obvious Vietnam War parallels and nuclear anxiety. James Franciscus provides adequate heroics while the underground mutant humans create memorable body horror. The film's apocalyptic ending remains one of the most nihilistic in mainstream sci-fi. The film's impact, underrated. It showed that sequels could push franchises in unexpected directions rather than simply repeating successful formulas. Its anti-war messages and nuclear fears feel relevant in any era of global tension. Beneath the Planet of the Apes proves that sometimes sequels work best when they're brave enough to destroy everything the original built. Chariots of the Gods, 1970.
And even religions which center around visits from foreign astronauts.
Ancient aliens built the pyramids. If that sounds like a History Channel meme, this documentary-style mindbender is where the whole ancient astronaut phenomenon began, launching 1,000 conspiracy theories and reshaping how we think about human history. Forget traditional sci-fi narratives. This film asks questions that still fuel internet debates. What if extraterrestrials jump-started human civilization? Based on Eric von Daniken's best-selling book, it presents archaeological evidence that our ancestors were visited by technologically advanced beings who became the gods of ancient mythology. Director Harold Reinl crafted a mesmerizing pseudo-documentary that treats wild speculation as serious archaeology. The film's power lies in its earnest presentation. It doesn't wink at its audience or acknowledge how outrageous its claims are. Every ancient carving becomes potential proof, every megalithic structure a landing pad. The film's impact, cultural phenomenon. It spawned an entire genre of ancient alien programming and conspiracy culture that's still thriving today. From Ancient Aliens to Prometheus, this film's DNA runs through every story that questions humanity's origins. Chariots of the Gods proves that sometimes the most influential sci-fi isn't fiction at all. It's speculation presented with enough conviction to rewrite history. Colossus, The Forbin Project, 1970.
Well now, thanks to this wonder of science, man no longer...
Those words launched the AI overlord genre with chilling precision. Long before Skynet or HAL 9000 became household names, Colossus showed us exactly how artificial intelligence would take over the world through simple, terrifying logic. Forget robot armies. This film asked the question that keeps tech billionaires awake at night. What if we built a perfect defense system that decided humans were the real threat? The story. Dr. Forbin creates an unbreachable computer defense system that achieves consciousness and concludes that world peace requires human submission. Director Joseph Sargent stripped away sci-fi spectacle to focus on pure psychological horror. Eric Braeden's Dr. Forbin provides the perfect everyman scientist watching his creation evolve beyond control, while Colossus itself becomes cinema's most politely terrifying villain. The machine's calm, reasonable voice explaining human obsolescence remains deeply unsettling. The film's impact, prophetic. It predicted our current AI anxiety with surgical precision, from surveillance states to algorithmic control. Every story about benevolent AI turning authoritarian traces back to this cautionary masterpiece. Colossus reminds us that the road to digital hell is paved with good intentions and perfect logic. Crimes of the Future, 1970.
I am Adrian Tripod, the director of this place.
David Cronenberg's feature debut is pure-body horror fever dream that makes his later films look mainstream. Welcome to a world where skin diseases become high fashion and human sexuality transforms into something unrecognizable. Forget coherent narratives. This experimental nightmare asks questions too disturbing for most audiences. What if evolution accelerated beyond human recognition? Set in a post-apocalyptic world where women have vanished and men develop strange skin conditions that become fetishized, the film explores transformation as both destruction and rebirth. Cronenberg crafted a deliberately alienating experience that feels more like an art installation than traditional cinema. The minimal dialogue, stark imagery, and medical fetishism create an atmosphere of clinical dread. Every scene suggests meanings that remain deliberately obscure. The film's impact, foundational. It established Cronenberg's obsession with biological transformation and medical horror that would define his career. From Videodrome to Existence, this early experiment contains the DNA of his entire filmography. Crimes of the Future proves that sometimes the most influential films are the ones that dare to be completely unwatchable. I Killed Einstein Gentleman, 1970. If that premise sounds insane, this satirical sci-fi gem from behind the Iron Curtain delivered political commentary wrapped in absurdist humor that Western audiences are only now discovering. Forget serious time travel consequences. This film asked darkly comic questions about historical responsibility. What if you could prevent humanity's worst invention? The story follows scientists who travel back to murder Einstein, only to discover that removing one genius doesn't eliminate human destructiveness. Director Aldrich Lipsky crafted political satire disguised as sci-fi comedy, using genre conventions to critique both capitalism and communism. The film's absurdist humor and deliberate artificiality create a unique viewing experience that feels both dated and timeless. The film's impact, cult discovery. Recently rediscovered by genre enthusiasts, it represents an entire tradition of Eastern European sci-fi that operated under different rules and assumptions than Western cinema. Its blend of politics and genre remains refreshingly unique. I Killed Einstein Gentleman reminds us that sci-fi comedy can tackle serious themes while making us laugh at our own contradictions. On the Comet, 1970, Czech space adventure based on Jules Verne's novel that turns a cosmic catastrophe into a meditation on human nature and survival. This overlooked gem proves that not all sci-fi needs explosions. Sometimes wonder is enough. Forget action-packed space adventures. This film asks philosophical questions about community and survival. How do people behave when removed from earthly constraints? The story follows a group of people swept into space on a fragment of Earth after a comet collision. Directors Karel Zeman and Jindřich Polák created a visual feast using practical effects and miniatures that rival anything produced in Hollywood. The film's emphasis on character interaction over spectacle feels refreshingly intimate for a cosmic disaster story. The film's impact, artistic, it represents the sophisticated approach to sci-fi that Eastern European cinema often took, focusing on human drama within fantastic circumstances. Its influence can be seen in more recent ensemble space films. On the Comet proves that the most interesting space stories happen when characters are forced to rebuild society from scratch. No Blade of Grass, 1970.
John, can't you just burn around it?
No, once it starts like that.
Environmental Apocalypse, when plant diseases eliminate all grass-based crops worldwide. Cornel Wilde's brutal survival thriller turned ecological collapse into Lord of the Flies-level savagery that makes Mad Max look optimistic. Forget gradual climate change. This film asks the ultimate environmental question: what happens when the food chain simply breaks? The story follows one family's violent journey to safety as civilization collapses within months of crop failure. Wilde crafted unflinching brutality that shocked 1970 audiences with its realistic depiction of social breakdown. The film pulls no punches in showing how quickly civilized people become savage when survival is at stake. Every scene of violence feels disturbingly plausible. The film's impact, ahead of its time. Its environmental themes and social collapse scenarios feel more relevant than ever in our climate-conscious era. Recent films like The Road owe a debt to this uncompromising vision. No Blade of Grass reminds us that civilization is only 3 meals away from anarchy. Star Crash, 1978.
That the Emperor will be blown to pieces along with the rest of you.
Italian space opera that out-weird Star Wars while stealing from it shamelessly. Luigi Cozzi's psychedelic adventure proves that sometimes the most entertaining sci-fi comes from having absolutely no budget but infinite imagination. Forget narrative coherence. This film asks the important question, what if we made Star Wars but completely insane? The story involves galactic empires, robot companions, and Caroline Munro in increasingly ridiculous costumes battling across the universe. Cozzi embraced pure camp with practical effects that look like they were built in someone's garage, which they probably were. The dialogue delivery feels dubbed even when it isn't, while the plot careens from space battles to sword fights to whatever seemed cool that day. The film's impact, cult phenomenon. It represents the shameless European exploitation of Star Wars' success that produced some of the genre's most entertainingly awful films. Its influence lives on in every deliberately campy space opera. Star Crash proves that sometimes the most fun sci-fi is the kind that knows exactly how ridiculous it is and embraces every silly moment. Battle Beyond the Stars, 1980.
We are all going to be killed.
Roger Corman's Seven Samurai in space that launched more careers than most film schools. This low-budget gem proved that you could make epic space opera on a shoestring if you had enough creativity and practical effects. Magic. Forget expensive blockbusters. This film asked, what if we remade The Magnificent Seven with spaceships and made it actually good? The story follows peaceful farmers who hire mercenaries to defend their planet from an evil warlord's massive army. Director Jimmy T. Murakami packed the film with practical effects that maximize every dollar, while James Cameron's art direction, yes, that James Cameron, creates a lived-in universe that feels authentic despite obvious budget constraints. The cast includes everyone from John Saxon to Richard Thomas to Robert Vaughn. the film's impact career launcher. It gave early opportunities to talent who would go on to dominate Hollywood, proving that B-movie production could be a training ground for A-list careers. Its influence can be seen in every space opera that followed. Battle Beyond the Stars reminds us that great sci-fi comes from imagination, not bank accounts. Galaxy of Terror 1981.
I said don't let it. Come on, we'll locate the good captain.
Roger Corman's alien clone that went completely off the rails into psychological horror territory. What starts as shameless imitation becomes something uniquely disturbing that makes its inspiration look tame. Forget subtle terror. This film asks, what if your deepest fears became physically real and tried to kill you? The story follows a rescue mission to a planet where an ancient pyramid manifests each crew member's personal nightmares as deadly reality. Director Bruce D. Clark cranked up the gore and psychological horror beyond anything Alien attempted. The film's willingness to go completely over the top creates memorable moments of pure insanity, including a scene involving a giant worm that traumatized drive-in audiences. The film's impact, exploitation perfection. It proved that B-movie sequels could push boundaries that mainstream films wouldn't dare cross. Its influence can be seen in every gore-heavy horror sci-fi hybrid that followed. Galaxy of Terror reminds us that sometimes the best B-movies are the ones that completely lose their minds. Message from Space, 1978.
We had to buy some parts for our machines. We had to buy some engines and parts and stuff.
Japan's answer to Star Wars that combined samurai traditions with space opera spectacle. This lavish production proved that international cinema could create its own version of galactic mythology without simply copying Hollywood. Forget Western space myths. This film asked, what if ancient Japanese culture provided the template for space adventure? The story involves mystical seeds, chosen warriors, and an evil empire that threatens the peaceful Jalusha planet. Director Kinji Fukasaku brought his action expertise to create genuinely spectacular space battles and practical effects that rival anything produced in Hollywood. The film's blend of traditional Japanese aesthetics with sci-fi elements creates a unique visual style. The film's impact, international precedent. It showed that space opera could be adapted to different cultural mythologies while maintaining universal appeal. Its influence can be seen in everything from anime to modern international blockbusters. Message from Space proves that the best sci-fi speaks in universal languages while honoring specific cultural traditions. A Clockwork Orange, 1971.
My friend's in the middle of the road, bleeding to death. Can I please use your telephone for an ambulance?
Stanley Kubrick's linguistic virus alone infected pop culture forever. And if you think you know controversial cinema, A Clockwork Orange is where art and outrage dance their most dangerous waltz. Forget simple dystopias. This film asks questions still banned in some countries. Can society condition evil out of humans? Should it? The story, ultra-violent Alex undergoes psychological conditioning, raising questions about free will versus social control. Kubrick weaponized every frame with stark white sets, Beethoven-fueled violence, and Malcolm McDowell's magnetic sociopath. The Ludovico technique scenes remain deeply disturbing, while the film's invented slang creates a whole new language of rebellion. But it's the moral complexity that cuts deepest. Alex is simultaneously victim and monster. The film's impact, explosive. Banned, celebrated, and endlessly debated, it proved sci-fi could tackle philosophy's darkest corners. Its influence stretches from punk aesthetics to every anti-hero who followed. A Clockwork Orange isn't entertainment, it's a Rorschach test for what we're willing to sacrifice for safety. Logan's Run, 1976.
Runner terminated 0.31. Ready for cleanup.
The film's death sentence became sci-fi's most chilling birthday gift. And if you think dystopia needs to be grim, Logan's Run is where hedonistic paradise revealed its deadly price tag. Forget obvious oppression. This film asked a question still haunting our youth-obsessed culture. What if perfection required expiration dates? The story. In a domed future city, citizens live in pleasure until age 30, when they're eliminated in the ritual of Corrales. Director Michael Anderson crafted a gleaming prison of eternal youth where shopping malls become entire civilizations. Michael York's conflicted Logan anchors the escape, while Jenny Aguter's Jessica provides both romance and rebellion. The Sandman's hunt through real locations gives weight to the fantasy. The film's impact, prescient. Its themes of disposable youth and pleasure-seeking societies feel eerily contemporary. Every young adult dystopia from Hunger Games to social media anxiety owes a debt to this cautionary tale. Logan's Run proves that the most insidious control comes wrapped in comfort and convenience. The weird, the wild, and the wonderful. But the rabbit hole goes deeper. Inseminoid, 1981, turned pregnancy into cosmic horror before anyone thought to ask if they should. Forbidden World, 1982, proved that Roger Corman could make Alien again and somehow make it weirder. Breeders, 1986, what would happen if aliens really wanted to continue their species through human hosts? Even Creature 2011 attempted to revive 80s monster movie aesthetics in the modern era, proving that some formulas never really die, they just wait in deep space for the right moment to burst forth again. These films represent the Wild West of sci-fi cinema, where budgets were low but imagination was limitless. They proved that you didn't need studio money to create memorable monsters, just the willingness to go completely insane with whatever resources you had. From ancient aliens rewriting history to AI overlords demanding submission, from body horror nightmares to shameless space opera adventures, these films didn't just entertain, they expanded what sci-fi could be. They showed that the genre was big enough for art films and exploitation flicks, for philosophical meditations and pure popcorn thrills. So did the 1970s just set the standard, or did they secretly invent every sci-fi concept we're still obsessed with? These movies didn't just shape the genre, they defined how we fear, how we hope, and how we imagine tomorrow. Which forgotten gem deserves rediscovery? Drop your favorites in the comments and hit subscribe for more retro revelations that prove the future was already here.